my career? And so I want you to answer. I want to see the answers come through the chat. Is it a yes? Is it a no? Is it, what is it? I must always be happy. I see some responses coming in. All right, yes, yes. All right, that's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. Right. Well, the answer to this is it depends, right? Happiness is a wrong target in anything you're doing in life. The fact that your career does not make you happy doesn't mean it's not your career, right? It might not just be the career, it might be the situation, it might be, maybe the circumstances of the people that you work with. It's really not the career. Now, of course, you shouldn't stick with a career that you're not happy with, but happiness is the wrong target. It's always the wrong target in anything that you're trying to do. So why exactly should you pursue a career? Now, if you said yes, it doesn't mean that you're wrong. It just means that you might have to start thinking about your career a little differently. Because I've seen people where they say, oh, I'm not really happy in this thing, I have to leave. And then they move from career or job to jobs, and they're on their 10th job and they're still not happy, right? What that really tells you is that happiness is not the right target. And so what's the target? The real target is purpose, meaning, impact, and fulfillment. What exactly are you doing to make the world better through the career that you have? How are other people benefiting from what you do? How are you helping other people do better in their lives, in their career, just all around? What impact are you having? Are you able to mentor other people in that career line, right? Are you fulfilled? Now, with all these things, you start to see that happiness might be a little too skewed if you use that as your benchmark to decide if something is your career or not. So you have to start thinking about purpose. You have to start thinking about meaning, right? I just completed a project with one of the big banks in the US where we help them build something to help out small businesses, right? Even though I might do many other things in my career, but at that particular point in time while working on that project, I could really see the meaning in what I was doing. I was working very long hours, so I wasn't necessarily happy, but I could see that I was making an impact on the lives of millions of people, right? So you need to start thinking about your career that way. And hopefully, if you can do that, things can change drastically for you. All right. So let's get into the meat. Someone is asking, you've talked about all these things. So how do I choose my career? Now, this is supposed to be an introductory, section into the bigger picture, which we're going to get into in a minute. But how do I choose the right career? What's the best way? Maybe you're already in your career and maybe you don't need this. You're already certain that this is exactly where I need to be. So this is probably not for you. But if you're still kind of struggling to say, I've been in this thing for a while now, I don't think this is for me, or I'm actually maybe just starting out and I just want to understand exactly what I should be doing for work. These are guides, right? There are many other school of thoughts around how to find what you're passionate about and all that stuff. But I've seen these steps work, and I've seen it work very, very, successfully. And so the first thing is to identify what you like. What do you like? What intrigues you? What problems did you want? Are you very excited to solve? For instance, personally, I like to advise. I don't mean advice to say, oh, this is how you should run your life, but I like to, use past experiences and data and research to tell people, I think I've seen this work this way. I think I've seen people do things this way. What if you try it this way? And that's why I went down the management consulting path, because I'm able to advise C-level executives to say, hey, this is how to drive, innovation in your company. This is how to drive digital transformation for your employees, for your processes, for your systems, for your people. So that's what I like. I like to solve problems that way, and I went down that path. So, what types of problems do you like to solve? Some people like to, help people do better with their careers. Some people like to help people feel better in their health. Some people like to be very handy and fix things, right? So what do you like? What intrigues you? What kind of problems do you want solved? Now, it's not very easy. It's not an easy science. You come up with a lot of options. I've heard some people say, oh, what are you good at? Right? That's a wrong question to ask, because to be honest with you, when you go down the path of what am I good at, your options are very limited. So you want to start by saying, what do I like? You might not be good at it right now, but do I want to do this, right? You might not be very skilled at it. But if you're going down the path of the things that you're skilled at, and then you limit your options tremendously. Now the second thing is identify. So let's say you have 10 things you think, yeah, I think I really want to do this. I want to be a fashion designer. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be a life coach. I want to be an IT professional. Like, list all that out, and then start to be honest with yourself. Which of these can I be successful at? Right? And so let's say that you've been in social work all your life, and now you want to be I don't know, a pilot, for instance, right? You have to be realistic with yourself. Am I going to be successful at that? Am I just trying to pursue that because people tell me there's money in IT, there's money in healthcare? Like, am I really going to be successful at that? So you have to start to project. Again, there's no real way to know this, but at least you can be honest with yourself based on your skills, your interest, your IQ, the way that you learn, and you can start to tell yourself some of these things, right? And the next thing is to do some research, talk to people, do what I call informational interviews, talk to people who are in that field that you want to go into and ask them, how are things done in this field? How do you get into this? How do I get into this from where I am? So start to research, and then you can try it out on a small scale, maybe do a volunteer work somewhere, or do a personal project in that space, see how successful you are, see if you're still intrigued about it. Now, this takes time, and that's why it's important for you to think of your career as a journey. Because if you think of it as something that comes very quickly, then you make mistakes. Why? Because you're not able to commit that time that it takes to really figure out yourself. Your career is your life. So it's a part of actually finding yourself and finding meaning in your life. And then once you're sure about it, evaluate your options. You need to go to school, you need to get more education. What do you need to start from? What's the right level to launch in? And once you're done with all that research, then you can launch out. Of course, there are more to this. If you'd like to learn a little more, you can definitely reach out to me through the host, and I can definitely help, guide you through this a little bit more. All right, and I like that picture to the right. You can see the graphic. It says it's a combination of motivation, the goals, your vision, what education you have, your ability, and your skills. All right, so let's get into the core of what we want to talk about today. Now, before I get into this section, what I want to tell you though is, going through the slides, I want you to open your mind. And I want you to be radically open-minded. I like to say that. Open your mind. Don't be attached to the wrong opinions. Don't be attached to the way that you've done things traditionally. I want you to really, really think through and be honest with yourself. Be brutally honest with yourself, because that's the only way to make change in your life. You have to tell yourself the truth. This is where I am in my career. This is what I'm doing, and these are the things that I need to do better. Right. Again, let me know if you have any questions. I believe the host will also interject if there are any questions or anything that you want me to stress on. And so I've tagged this section career enablers versus career differentiators. What does that mean? Now, enablers really are things that just help you drive. Call them things that help you move the process along, right? The things that just help you. If you think about a business, for instance, think about like a Chick-fil-A, right? They need the kitchen, they need chefs, they need people to sell, they need customer service. They need to get the ingredients for the food to make everything. Those are things that keep the business going. Those are enablers. Enablers are things that help you move your career along. They don't necessarily set you apart. They just help you keep in that career. Now, differentiators on the other end are things that actually set you apart. The things that make you a promotion candidate. The things that make you a leader. The things that make you, eligible for a leadership position, if you will. Maybe you're in your career and you've been trying to break through to that next level. These differentiators are the things that are going to really help you move to that next level that you're thinking about. All right. So career enablers. The first thing is confidence. Now, I want to say this. A lot of people have been operating in this level of enablers, and they feel like, oh, I'm doing everything right. I'm doing all these things. People tell me I'm great. How come I'm not getting this promotion? How come I'm not able to make that move into my next level? These things I'm talking to you about are bare minimum. It's like when you read a job description. When an employer posts a job description online, that's the bare minimum for that role. If you fulfill that, you're only doing your job, you're not doing extra. So the first thing, enablers, which would be shocking to a lot of people because a lot of people feel like when I have this, then I'm going to be differentiated. No, these are just really things that keep you on the job. Number one is confidence. Number one is confidence. Now, in this day and age where people are not meeting physically, right? Because it used to be the thing where people see you and they can tell you're confident, they can see how you talk, they can see how you walk, they can see how you carry yourself. But in the day of virtual meetings and you're not seeing people's faces, how do you build confidence? Right? How are you perceived as a confident person? And so the next slide kind of teaches you, gives you some points here. I'm going to run through this very quickly because I know we don't really have a lot of time. But the number one thing in building confidence is knowing who you are. Now, let me tell you this. Confidence is not only perceived when people see you. Confidence is perceived when people hear you talk without seeing your face. Confidence is perceived how you introduce yourself when you join a virtual meeting, for instance. Confidence is exhumed in the way you write your emails or the way you text your colleagues. It's very easy to pick up on someone who is confident versus someone who's not confident. It's very easy to pick up on someone who is a confident person just by the way that they do their things. Like I said, it might be the way that you present. It might be the way that you speak. It might be the way that you type out an email, like I said. So it's important for you to know that confidence is really not the way that you're dressed or the way that you appear for an interview or something like that. It's who you are. It's how you carry yourself. All right. And the other thing I want you to know is it takes 15 seconds between meeting someone and when they decide if you're confident or not. 15 seconds. That's all you have. That's all you, maybe it's virtually or in person. It takes 15 seconds. And that's in those 15 seconds, they're trying to gauge how confident you are and how engaging you are. So you need to really work on your confidence, right? And the first way to do that is you need to know yourself, know who you are. The reason why this is very important because one of the key killers of confidence is people comparing themselves to other people. When you start to compare yourself to other people who you think are doing far better than you are, then it starts to affect your confidence. But when you know who you are, you know exactly the skills that you bring to the table, you know the value that you create, it starts to build your self-confidence. That way you're not comparing yourself with other people, you're just assuming confidence because you know who you are. The second thing is to know what you do, right? Understand the value that you bring. I can tell you, for days right now, the value that I bring through the work that I do. You need to be able to tell that story. Now, that not only shows in the way that you speak, but it also affects your mindset. You start to see that you are a value creator. You start to see the value that you bring. Again, you're not comparing yourself to other people. You're challenged by other people. You're motivated by other people, but you're not comparing yourself to them. So you know exactly what you do. You can speak confidently to the value that you bring to the table, right? And then the next thing is what to say. You know exactly how to articulate the value that you bring. These are things that you need to start practicing. You need to start practicing them. I'll show you exactly how to get to this point, all right? And then you know how to say it. There's a great story, but there's a great story well told. Now, some people have great stories, but they're not able to tell it. So you need to be able to tell your story in a way that's very, very, very captivating. And then the last thing is be honest. Be honest. Honesty produces confidence in a way that you can never imagine, right? You have to be completely honest. When you're not truthful, then it starts to affect your self-esteem and you're not able to maintain the same story every time. So you have to be truthful. Be truthful about your experiences, be truthful about where you are in your career. You're talking to someone, don't tell them that you've been doing something for 40 years when you've only done it for 5 years, right? So be very honest about what you're doing. Be very honest about where you are. Let people know you for who you are. It creates a lot of confidence. All right.
Gaia, before you move on, so I wanted to just chime in and say that we should also know that there's a difference between being confident and being cocky and arrogant. Yeah. So we want to be very sure about that, and I want people to be able to differentiate between both. Don't try to come off as arrogant and cocky and thinking that you're being confident. There's a difference in between both. And with the last point saying that be honest, one of the things that I do and my team at work that I've always encouraged is that if you don't know how to do something, if I give you a task and you don't know how to do something, I don't want you to say, oh, yeah. I've done this before. I have that experience and you've never done this before. Or if I ask you a question during a meeting and you don't have the answer, maybe I'm asking you for some data or something, and I don't want you to give me the wrong data, especially when we're like in a large audience. It's preferable to say, I don't know this right now. However, I'm going to get it, or I'm going to research this or something and immediately get to it and bring me what I need. It's better, if I'm asking you, I'm in the healthcare industry. If I'm asking you, how many ICD-10 codes that the CMS say we have to update for 2020. I don't want you to tell me, in a meeting, 450 when you never even opened it before. So you don't know that that's the number, because those are critical things. Because I'm going to probably follow up, and at some point in time, I'm going to be in a position where I have to actually know. So if I open up a spreadsheet or look at the CMS data that I pulled from the CMS website and I see 560, but you told me 400, you're more likely to get on the wrong side, given that kind of information, than saying, Seun, give me 1 second, I'm going to check, or I'm going to verify and confirm. So like the part of the honesty is making sure that you're as accurate as possible and not intentionally giving information that is incorrect or incomplete. Just wanted to add that to that.
Thank you so much. Now, the next one is visibility. Now, this is something that a lot of people struggle with. A lot of people struggle with this, and it's a career killer if you don't have the right visibility, right? So I'm going to be walking you through the second point here, which I believe is maybe one of the most important enablers after confidence. All right. So what is visibility? Visibility just really means how known is your brand. It means, what do people know about you? It's very different from being popular. Like, a lot of people are very popular, but no one knows exactly what they bring to the table, right? I've met people who their names are on everyone's lips, maybe because they came up in the limelight to do something, but no one really knows the essence of that person's presence. Like, there's nothing to be associated with your name. There's nothing to be associated with your popularity, but you need to be visible. And now in the corporate world, visibility is everything. People really need to know exactly what you bring to the table. It's basically like, I call it a show and tell of your story. It's a show and tell of your story to the people that matter. What do people know about you? I'm not talking about people know your name. I'm not talking about you have, a catchy phrase after your emails that people can remember. Why all of that is important. What exactly is the value that people associate with you? Now, the key task for you is this. As you're where you are right now, I want you, if you have a pen and a paper, I want you to write down the names of 4 people within your organization. I'm going to give you 5 seconds. 4 people within your organization, you just write their initials, within your organization, who can speak on your behalf as far as the value that you bring to the table when you're not there, in your absence. 4 senior people. I'm not talking about your friends or your sister that works in the same company as you. I'm talking about people that matter in your industry. Write down the names of 4 people right now who know exactly, who can speak to you. Let's say they're speaking for your promotion or they're speaking for a salary raise, who can speak exactly to the value that you bring to the table. 4. If by now you're not able to write down 4 people confidently, there's a problem. All right? If by now you don't know 4 people within your organization. Again, I'm not talking about your friends or your family members, people who matter, people who can make decisions on your career. If you don't have 4 people written down right now, then you have a visibility problem.
Dyer, can the 4 people include your managers or no? Like your
the 4 people can, but ideally should not include the person that you report to, because by virtue of reporting, they know exactly what you're doing.
That's
all right.
true.
So it should be people who are not like your direct managers, people outside of that who know exactly the value that you bring to the table. If you're struggling with those 4 names, there's a visibility problem. It really just means that not a lot of people know. So you're starting to see maybe why no one is advocating for you in the promotion conversations. No one is reaching out to you to tell you about a new role. No one is reaching out to you to tell you about some new exciting opportunity within your organization or even outside, right? No one is, reaching out to you to say, hey, what do you think we do about this? We know that you're a subject matter expert in this area, but within yourself that you know these things. You know that you have the knowledge, you have the resources. No one knows about it. All right. So we're going to talk about how to build visibility.
Dyer, you're muted. Dyer, you're on mute. Uh-oh. Dyer, can you hear us? You're on mute. Okay, let me unmute him.
That matter within your organization, right? Again, not your direct manager. I'm not talking about your colleagues. I'm talking about people that matter. So I'm talking about executives. I'm talking about people who have the opportunity to make.
Seun, is it possible for him to go back a little bit, because we didn't hear him when he was muted?
1 second, Dyer. So at the beginning of the slide, you were muted, and we couldn't hear you. So can you start from the beginning of the slide again? I'm going to mute everybody else, but Dyer, I want you to unmute yourself.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, please wave it.
Okay, Dyer, unmute yourself. Unmute yourself.
All right, please wave if you can hear me. Awesome. Right. So what I'm saying is that to create visibility and to increase your visibility, I want you today, regardless of what field that you are, you might be in IT, you might be in healthcare, you might be in social work, you might be an entrepreneur, you might be a business owner. It doesn't matter. Whatever it is, you might even be in ministry, right? Set up a meeting, a virtual meeting, be a Zoom meeting, it could be a phone call, whatever, coffee, chat, whatever it is. Set up a 15-minute meeting with 3 people in your industry that matter, that can make decisions. Some of you are business owners, but you're not getting opportunities. Set up a meeting with people who have gone ahead of you in that industry, who can influence your career, and let them know about what you do. Just tell them this is who I am. This is what I do, right? This is the value that I bring. This is what I'm doing within the organization. It could be your boss's boss. It could be maybe the head of your team or your department, or the whatever it is that you're doing. It just identify the people that matter. And I want you to do this between the next week or the next 2 weeks. Make this a priority. That way you start to become top of mind to the people that matter. You start to become top of mind to the people who have influence, who have the opportunity to make, life-changing decisions, right? And so make sure that you do that. Remember, you don't just want to do that once, because I've met people who met the CEO of their company once, and that's their life story. You want to do this consistently. Why? Because these people have other things that they're thinking about, right? So you have to appear in front of them always, right? Consistently, for them to have you at the top of their mind. So this is not something that you just want to do once and then you stop it. You have to continually do it. But again, you have to balance your story with your works. You have to balance your story with your work. You don't just want to go tell someone that I'm a great team player, I'm very good at this, and all you have is the talk, but you don't have the walk, right? So make sure that you're walking the talk. All right?
Right. So
yes.
creating visibility for yourself. I have two two things here. I know you said, you could be with your boss's boss, right?
Mhm.
Do you think the boss could feel slighted in a way that their direct report went over them to speak to, their manager higher up? Do you think there could be like a conflict right there?
No, I don't think so. I think the intention is what makes it different, right? You're not going to your boss's boss to tell them that you can do your boss's work. It's very different.
There you
You're
go.
going to tell them that, hey, this is what I'm doing. These are the steps that I've been doing to do better in my role.
Yeah.
I'm reading this book, I've been taking this training, and I've been meeting with this industry leader, I've joined this. You just tell this, it's basically selling yourself. You're not trying to replace someone else, all right? So I think that answers that.
Yeah, so you don't go and belittle your boss or make your boss look like they're incompetent or you're trying to replace them, because you might end up shooting yourself in the foot. Exactly. So, and I think one other way that you can also increase. What on earth? Sorry guys, I'm not sure how everybody got unmuted. Let me mute everybody again. Okay, Bayo, please unmute yourself, please. Bayo, unmute yourself. Okay, good. So I think one of the ways that we can also increase visibility is, and it's just a tactic that has worked for me, is, I think it might sound very cliche to go above and beyond, but I think that you can also, volunteer yourself to take on more than your assigned and identified work, right? If there are several projects, if there are other projects aside from your regular, work that you're supposed to be doing, and it seems like there's another team somewhere or something that you could actually spend some more time. I think that might be a good idea, a good way for you to also make yourself visible and your skills visible as well. There are times where I realized that my workload was not as much as when we're going crazy with a project, and and in meetings I can hear, oh, there's a new project that's coming on and everything, and this is that, and I'm thinking, oh, I have XYZ skill. And one of the things I did was talk to my manager and say, do you mind? I don't have, my workload is not that much right now. Do you mind if I spend 25% of my time on XYZ project, which exposes me to another level, another set of management team who can see my skill and know what I also bring to the table. So kind of trying to balance that. Like, don't just be rigid and say, you guys only paid me to work on spreadsheets. I'm only going to work on spreadsheets, and that's it. You have to be flexible and be able to, look for opportunities to showcase yourself by volunteering to do additional work, things that are even out of scope for what you are currently hired for. I know a lot of times we're always like, oh, they only paid me, it's not my father's job. They only paid me to do this. I'm only going to stay within that. I think you should also start thinking of volunteering and doing things outside of your regular scope of work.
Thank you so much. I see that we have people who are raising their hands. Please type in the questions in there, and then we'll try to answer them. We need to move quickly here. All right. So the next thing for career enablers is innovation and problem solving. I'm probably not going to spend a lot of time here, but I want to demystify what innovation is. A lot of people think that innovation is coming up with the next iPhone, or coming up with the next, Tesla or something like that, coming up with some groundbreaking technology. No, that's not what it means to be innovative. Innovation really means doing things simpler, or finding simpler way to do things that everyday people do. Right? Finding easier ways, right? The mobile phone technology was a technology that made communication easier. People have always communicated, right? So it's doing things easier. How can you make your managers work easier? How can you make things easier for your team members? How can you make things easier for your organizations? If there are ideas that you have, for instance, in the wake of Black Lives Matter and everything that's going on, do you have suggestions to your employer to improve diversity? Do you have a suggestion for your team to build that connection better? Like what options do you have to help your team work less hours, for instance? Are there things that you can offer, right, to make the work that your team does a little easier? That's really what innovation is. So you have to be innovative, and you have to be a problem solver. You have to be a problem solver. I have a 10-step approach to being a problem solver, but I've condensed it into 4 steps that I think is really going to help you. Again, I'm going to move very quickly through this, but what I've done in my own life and I've seen other people do to help you be a real problem solver, because you don't want to be on a team where you're not able to offer solutions. You don't want to be that team member who doesn't really have any great contribution on how to solve problems, right? So following these 4 steps, you'll be able to improve your problem solving skills. You'll be able to improve yourself and increase your visibility, like the host said earlier, by saying, I think this is what we can do about this. I think we should be able to do it this way. So number 1 is to ask the right questions. Don't assume you know everything. Don't jump into conclusions. When something comes up, when a task comes up, ask the right questions. You're not stupid for asking questions. Most of the times it actually shows that you're thinking about the right approach to solve a problem, right? To ask the right questions. And number 2 is to develop and master your own unique problem solving thought process. Again, I didn't say skill, I said thought process, right? Because in solving a problem is really not in the solving, it's in thinking through the solution, right? It's in thinking through the solution. If you know what the problem is by asking the right question, the problem is 50% solved. If you know the thought process and you think through the solution, it's 75% solved. The 25% that's left is really implementing the solution. That makes sense, right? And so once you have your own unique thought process, for me, I can sit down and then analyze information from other people, from other places, and really think through how this is going to come together to solve the problem that I have. For some people, it's just really taking time to read a book. Some people, it's taking a walk and really thinking through stuff, and then they start to get ideas. Find what's unique for you, right? Find what's unique for you. It doesn't have to be complicated. It just needs to be unique for you. That way, you can repeat it over and over, and you find out that you're able to think through solutions regardless of what the problem is, all right? And then the next thing is to put it to test, right? You can test it, and some of you might have, hard time trying to decide what to buy on Amazon, for instance. You have all of these things. You're trying to buy maybe a white t-shirt, but you have t-shirts from like 10 different manufacturers. How do you think through choosing that? Test that thought process out on simple things, and then you can start to apply them to more difficult or complex problems, right? And then once you do that, share and implement that with confidence. We talked about confidence. Share it. Now you have the data. Now you've tested it out. You know it's unique to you. You know how you approach problems. Then start to implement with confidence. All right. So the next and the last career enabler before we move into the differentiators, which we're going to run through very quickly, is consistency. This is the backbone for success in career. You have to be consistent. I've heard people say that 80% of career success is actually showing up. It's bringing yourself every day. You're not confident today and then you lack confidence tomorrow. You're not a team player today and then you're bottleneck tomorrow. You're not an innovator today and then you lack innovation tomorrow. You need to be consistent. You need to keep doing it. And the only way to achieve consistency is to make things simple, because it's easier to keep track or to keep doing things that are simple than doing things that are complex. And that's why I'm giving you all these simple steps to be visible, simple steps to build confidence, simple steps to be an innovator. That way you're able to repeatedly do these things and be consistent with them. All right. And so you need to be consistent. To be consistent with those 3 things that we talked about earlier. You have to review your results every time and do away with the things that don't work. Again, in your career, because it's a journey, you have to be open-minded. Be open-minded to new ideas, be open-minded to new methods, be open-minded to new ways of doing things, right? And so you have to be consistent. Make yourself top of the mind. That's what consistency does to you, right? So if you're consistently, giving value or creating value for your team, you're the first person that people think about. You're the one that people want to reach out to. right? And so be consistent. Be consistent. Consistency is key, especially for the demographic, for a lot of people on this call. You have to keep doing things. You have to be top of mind. Always, always. So don't forget that. Be consistent. Now, before we move into the differentiators, I just want to give you what I've called the resourcefulness challenge. This will help you tremendously in your career. Again, you don't have to be in a 9-to-5. You might be an entrepreneur, you might be a small business owner, you might be an handyman, whatever it is you do, right? These things work always, always. Number one, be the status quo. I say this to people all the time. I just completed a project, like I told you, I was leading a team of almost 30 people. Sometimes I don't have all the details, and my bosses are calling me to say, hey, what's going on? I'll have to reach out to other people who work in my team to say, what's the status here, especially when I'm juggling multiple, multiple work streams, as the way we call it, right? So I know the people that I go to get status. They don't necessarily have to be the people who are actually doing the work. And so you want to be that person who knows exactly what's going on part time. A lot of you might have been in situations where maybe you have a colleague, everyone goes to that person, and you're saying, this is not even the person who does all the work. I do all the work. Why are you going to this person for status? So be that person who's able to articulately, speak to the status of work, right? So if you're in construction, for instance, and you're building a house, or you guys are building something, be that person who can speak confidently to where the project is going, what the blockers or issues are. Be able to speak to that. It increases your visibility, and it gives your managers or your bosses more confidence. Right, they have more confidence in you, in your abilities, in the skills that you bring to the table. Right, so be a status quo. Find and maintain artifacts that your team needs from time to time. Right, so the old kept talking about spreadsheets. Are there things that you can find to make the work that your team does, make it better? Right, it could be PowerPoint slides, or it could be maybe a PDF, instruction guide that helps people do things better. Just find those things and maintain them, so that when anyone has any challenge, they know that if they come to you, you have something that will help them. You have something. You don't want to be the person who's going to other people for help every time. Be the person that people come to for help. Right? These are very practical things that you can start to do starting on Monday, even today. Right? So send an email to your team, say, hey, I found this article. I think it's really going to help the work that we're doing. Don't be afraid to do that. Don't feel like people are going to say, oh, what exactly is this person doing? Don't be scared to do it. It increases the visibility, and it helps people see you as a problem solver, as a motivated person. All right. And I think the last point is the same thing. Research and suggest ways to do things better. All right, so we're running out of time here. I want to go into the differentiators very quickly, and then we can switch into answering questions. All right, so the first thing, now this is where you need to be very honest with yourself. I've seen a lot of people fail at this stage of differentiators. You need to be very, very honest with yourself. Number one is ownership. A lot of people want to be a part of a team. A lot of people want to say, oh, we did this together. But only few people want to take ownership and say, I'm going to lead this. I'm going to put my name on it, even if it fails. You have to start to take ownership, right? In that company where you work, in that business where you work, for that boss that you work for, show them that you want to take ownership. Now, taking ownership doesn't mean that you know everything. It just means that you're willing to take on the challenge. You're willing to take on the challenge and see things through, right? So ownership is not about just starting. It's about follow through. Ownership is not about saying, oh yeah, I want to volunteer myself to this. I've seen a lot of people, and there's nothing more frustrating to a manager than you saying you want to do something and then they still have to follow through. They have to be the one to complete it. And you started, you're like, oh no, sorry, I can't really do this. And so ownership means actually following through, right? Of course, you want to say, yes, I want to do this, but more importantly, you're following through, right? So you have to own it, you have to take on the problem, identify the right team, and with this comes emotional intelligence. Of course, you can sense who to use for what, not use, but who to bring on board for what, right? So if there's a problem with, numbers, for instance, you know the right person to go bring. If there's a problem with research, you know the right person to bring. So, it's really starting to build yourself up as a leader. It's bringing yourself up as someone who's able to solve problems, right? And so that's taking ownership. Now, the next differentiator is building relationships. Building relationships. I'm sure you've seen people who just keep getting promoted, and it's because of who they know. Now, building relationships does not mean lobbying for promotion. No, it doesn't mean trying to, suck up to other people because you're looking for a favor. No, it's very different. Building relationship means, again, showing people the value that you bring to the table and having them appreciate that. And it's a two-way traffic, right? It's doing the same thing for other people. It's knowing what other people are about, knowing the value that they bring, you being able to speak to their values, and then to do the same to you, right? So building the right relationships. Again, sorry, I'm having to kind of speak through this because we don't really have a lot of time. But building relationships, it's very, 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 can I walk you through some steps here? And so the first thing in building a relationship is building trust. Of course, in any relationship, trust is important, right? You need to build trust. People need to trust you. You need to be a man of your word. If you're gonna do something, then do it. If you tell someone, I'm gonna get this done today, do your best to get it done. That way you build confidence in people, and then you build trust. All right. The next thing is to bring yourself. This is the place of authenticity. You have an accent, for instance. Don't go in trying to cover that up. No, come in as yourself. Come in as, of course, you want to speak as clearly as possible for people to understand you, but bring yourself. Bring yourself. You are a Christian, right? When you go to work, bring that to work. Be authentic. Let people know you. It helps you attract the right people to yourself, right? So there's something that you do outside of work. Of course, let people know that. Don't keep your personal life out of your professional life. It's your career, it's your journey. All right. You'll be surprised how many opportunities might open up to people at your job if they know that you have a YouTube channel, for instance. You might be surprised what opportunities might open up for you at your place of work if they know that maybe you're part of a mom's club or something like that. Just bring yourself into it. Develop emotional intelligence. Understand people, right? Don't get angry just because someone gives you an attitude. They might be having a bad day too, right? So it's those type of things. Understand when people are going through things or what's making people happy. Like, just be emotionally intelligent, right? Care for people genuinely. I've heard people say that people don't care what you know until they know how much you care, right? Care genuinely for people. Care genuinely for people. These are ways to build relationships. Maybe it's a vertical relationship, an horizontal relationship, whatever it is, up or down. These are ways to build relationships and follow up consistently. Like I said, building a relationship with people that matter in your industry is not just a matter of a 15-minute meeting. You got to do it over and over and over and over. So you have to follow up consistently. All right. I hope someone is getting something out of that. All right. So I see someone asking, can this work in an environment, in a toxic environment? We'll answer that question in a bit. And it's an interesting question that people ask me, a lot, but I'll answer that right after this section. The third thing is having a positive mentality. A lot of you might have heard this, but you probably don't know that it's true. That what you think about the most is what becomes your reality. What you think about the most is what becomes your reality, right? So you have to constantly think positive about your career. Don't be negative. And I think I might start to answer the question. Have a positive outlook. One of my mentors said that he made a statement. It's a 6-part statement. probably know him, John C. Maxwell. He said that in this life, there is good and bad. I think we all agree with that, right? The other thing he said is in this life, you're going to have some good and you're going to have some bad. You agree with that, right? The next thing is in this life, you're going to have some good and some bad that you don't have control over. Some things are going to happen to you that you don't even know how they happen, good or bad, right? The fourth statement is if you have a positive mindset, everything gets better. The bad gets better, the good gets better, right? If you have a negative mindset, everything gets worse. So the bad gets worse and the good gets worse, right? And so the last thing is a question. What mindset are you going to have, right? So you got to have a positive mindset to see things start to shape up in your career, right? If you're thinking about a promotion, start to see yourself in the light of the promotion. Start to see yourself, having that promotion. Have a positive mindset. Again, like I said, happiness is always a wrong target. You might be unhappy with your career just because you don't like the people that you work with. It doesn't mean that that's a wrong career. So you have to always think positive. You have to always think positive. All right. The next and the last point here is starting to operate at your next level. Starting to operate at your next level, right? And I'll walk you through what that means. And I think this is how we round this up. Before we go into some tips and tricks on how to make a promotion, how to get, raising your career, whatever. But this is the key here: is operate at your next level. A lot of people are saying, "I'm not making progress," but they haven't really defined what progress is. All right. Define what progress is. Is it a better job? Is it a better, is it a higher position? Is it a better pay? What is it? What is that next level? What is it? You have to know exactly what it is. Once you know, then make a decision to pursue that next level. Make a decision to say, yes, I'm going after this. Right? I'm going after a better job. I'm going after creating visibility for my business. I'm going after getting more customers. Like, make a decision, make a conscious decision. Right? Share on demand, for instance, is a conscious decision to say, I'm going to start this. Regardless of the followership right now, this is going to keep going. Right? This is going to keep going. So you have to make a decision to say, yes, I'm pursuing this. Now, identify and study people. This is a big issue because a lot of people are proud. You following people, calling people your mentor does not necessarily mean that you're below them. All right. It just means that they have something you don't have and you want to learn from them. So identify people who have gone ahead of you and learn from them. The next is to learn the ways of your next level. What am I going to be doing in my next level? What am I going to be? How am I going to be operating? So I want to become a manager. How do managers behave? How do managers carry themselves? What skill do I need to develop? Right? Start to do those things and speak the language of your next level. Right? I interestingly, on one of my projects, I brought on a new associate to the meeting. And the way that this lady was speaking, after the call, one of my senior partners called me and said, hey, I really like that person. They're speaking like they're going to be with this firm for a long time. They're already speaking like a leader. This is someone who just joined, but it was very noticeable from the way they spoke, right? They've already started speaking as though they were operating at a higher level. So you need to learn to speak at that level, right? You need to learn to speak at the next level. And the last thing, which is not the least, is to make God your audience. This drives back to the issue of purpose. What is God trying to do through me in this next level? Let me do everything that I'm doing as though God was my employer. And you'll be amazed how God can promote people. Praise God. All right. Great. Before we go in, I just want to give you this challenge. I've been giving you challenges. I don't want you to take this thing for granted. These are things that I want you to do. I told you to set up 3 meetings with people that matter. I told you to write down a story for yourself and how to, say the story of the value that you bring. This one is very important. And this is very applicable to when you want to get a promotion or wanting to get a raise. The first thing is to write down the job description of what you're looking for, right? What's that next level? You want to change jobs, write it down. You want to better promote a better role, write that role down. You want a better pay, write that pay down, right? The exact number you're looking for, right? Rate yourself on a 1 to 10, right? Of these descriptions. You say, okay, in this next level, I want to be able to lead 20 people. I want to be able to offer solutions to C-level executives. On a scale of 1 to 10, rate yourself. Where are you in that spectrum? Are you closer to 10 or are you closer to a 1? Right. And the next thing is to identify, what do I need to do to get closer to 10s? All right. Do I need to read books? Do I need to attend courses? Attending something like this, for instance, is a step that you're taking to move yourself closer to a 10. Right. So draft a plan to close that gap. Right. These are things that I need to do. These are conferences I need to attend. These are things that I need to learn, and start to execute the plan. Don't just write it down. Take actionable steps. Take actionable steps. Right. And then talk to people that matter. I think we've talked about this before. Evaluate yourself on a constant basis to see how you're tracking towards your next level. You need to be honest with yourself. You're not going to get to the next level that you're not prepared for, right? So you need to be very honest with yourself. And the last thing, of course, is to reach out to your next level. All right. So, Seun, do you think we go into these career tips now, or do we take some questions and then we review these tips? What do you want us to do?
I think we can tackle some of the questions. We have about 3 different questions in the chart. So let's tackle those questions and then we'll move into the career tips.
Before we go, though, can people raise your hand? Well, has this been helpful? I'd like to see a yes.
Yes.
A no.
Question, guys.
It may be. Has this been helpful to you? I want to see those comments coming.
Yeah, people are raising their hands.
Awesome.
Yes.
Great.
Thank you, guys. Raise your hands. Thank you. Awesome.
Great. Awesome. All right. Let's go into the questions.
Yeah. So let's see. We have from Mr. Innocent Onwakor. If your boss finds out you have a meeting with his superiors, he may get offended. Is it not better to include him in the meeting? I think we tackled a little bit of that, but Dayo, please expatiate on that. That's in line with the question I asked.
Yeah. So again, the intention is really what matters, right? Of course, there are going to be insecure managers, and that's not your issue. The core of the meeting that you're setting up with your boss's boss is to tell them the value that you bring. Again, you're not going to tell them that I'm doing a better job than my manager. That's not the approach, right? And again, we've talked about honesty and being open. You can actually even tell your manager to say, hey, just so you know, I'm going to be setting up a meeting with so and so, just to tell them it's a way to increase my visibility. So you can be very open about that, right? The communication is key, of course. So let them know if they find any issues with that, and they're not happy about you doing that. Well, go to other people. Your boss's boss is not the only influential people in your organization. There are other people, right? So if they have a problem with you doing that, reach out to other people. But I think that it's a good place to start, right? Just let them know that I'm going to be reaching out to this person. This is just in a bid to increase my visibility within my organization. I hope that helps.
Okay, awesome. And then the next question is, how do we differentiate between eye service at work and being visible at work?
So great leaders are able to call through the chase very quickly. Great leaders know who is trying to impress versus who brings value. So don't be distracted by people who are always there to say that I can do this, when you are a real problem solver, when you're an innovator, when you're someone who brings value to the table. It's going to just be a matter of time. People are going to know you for what you bring to the table. So don't be distracted by that. Of course, like I said, you want to be doing things that make you visible, because there are a lot of people who have all these great ideas, who do great work, but no one knows. So you have to consistently speak to the value that you bring. But remember what I said, don't only talk about it, do the work. So walk the talk, right? And so walk the talk. You have to balance your marketing with your results. So as you're marketing yourself and telling people about the great work that you're doing, also let them see the value that you bring. And a good way to do that is if you do something that's great, of course, share it with the leaders, right? If someone sends you a note saying, hey, you did a great job of this, send that note to someone that matters and say, hey, these are things that people are saying about me. That way you're able to differentiate, yourself from those who are just really talking and it's all talk, right? So there's definitely a difference between that, but you want to make sure that you're providing or creating value, and you're not just speaking. There are always going to be people who want to do eye service. It's the nature of corporate America or corporate wherever, right? In corporate world, there are always going to be different types of people, but you want to be that person who not only brings value, but is also able to market, the value that they bring to the table.
All right, and I think the last question we have right now is, can these career enablers and differentiator tips work for someone in a toxic environment that works in a toxic environment?
Yeah, so I think I spoke a little bit to that. Every environment is unique, but these strategies are very universal, right? You might be in an environment where, I don't know what you mean by toxic. Maybe you're talking about your relationship with your manager isn't as great, or the employees, the colleagues that you're working with. It's an environment where it's cutthroat, if you will. Everyone is trying to please the boss. Everyone is trying to get a promotion. The enablers are things that will set you apart, regardless of the politics that's going around. We'll talk a little bit about navigating office politics, but these things will set you apart. Everyone identifies with a problem solver, regardless of the situation, right? Everyone identifies with the people who have the information that's needed to move a team forward or move a company forward or to take an organization to the next level, right? So if you have that, regardless of the toxicity of that environment, these things will still work. Now, if you're in a place where you've tried so much to let people see your value, you've tried so much to increase your visibility, and it's not working, there's several steps that you can take. Number one, have the conversation, right? Meet with the people that matter. Maybe it's your direct manager, whoever it is who has the power to make decisions. Talk to them about the challenges that you're facing. Again, don't assume that because you're in a toxic environment, you're in the wrong career, right? You might be with the wrong employer, but you right career for you. So have a conversation with your manager, ideally, and say, hey, this is what I've noticed. What can we do better? I think I'm trying everything I can, and things don't seem to be changing. Are there other things that you think I can do better? These are the things that I've done, right? And so ask those type of questions and have this conversation. Right? If all that fails, you've had that conversation, why don't you think of maybe joining a different department where there's less politics or where it's less toxic, right? And so look for opportunities, right? And if all that fails, of course, maybe it might be time to start looking for a job at another place, but let that be your last resort. Because if it's a problem with yourself, you're going to face that problem elsewhere, right? So you have to be able to get to the root of the issue. Is it the environment? Is it me? Is it a combination of both? What can I do better? And what can other people? Because the truth is, you might not be able to change other people. You might be able to change yourself. And so work on that first. And then, like I said, have the conversation, see where changes can be made. And if it looks like, nothing can be done, the situation is gone beyond repair, then you can start to look outside.
Awesome, great, thank you, Dyer. So those are the questions that we have.
Raising their hand, do they have questions? They want to ask the questions, or is that?
You ask them to raise their hands to indicate if they
Oh, okay. Now, if you've done that, then you can drop. If that's the case, then you can drop it.
Yeah, you can click on that
I
button.
just want to be sure that people don't have questions.
Guys. So we're still gonna have that session. You know, everyone. Just want you guys to know that we're still gonna have that session at the end of this. So you guys, we're gonna open up the bridge, or rather, open up and unmute everybody so that we can actually talk. And if you have questions, we can go through that. So, but let's jump right into career tips and strategies. We're ready.
Awesome, great. So someone is asking me, how do I find? Maybe this is what someone else joined for. How do I find my dream job? Right? There are many ways for you to find your job. What I want to share with you though is leveraging social networks to find your dream job. What I'm sharing with you are just not tips from the internet. These are tips that I've shared with people that have worked, people who have results, right? From the chart that you see here, you can see that 7% of all job seekers apply through employee referrals. But 40% of all hiring happens through employee referrals. What does that tell you? It means that even though most of the decisions are happening through referrals, a lot of people are not taking advantage of referrals. That's what it simply means. You know, the days of going on a career website and trying to submit your resume to the company, those things still work. But as you can see from this, from the data in front of you, it's those channels are becoming increasingly irrelevant, if you may. So I want to show you how you can leverage the power of social networks to get the dream job that you want. I have a 9-step process here that I have given to people. It has worked times and times again. So number one,
Dayo, your audio is, I'm not sure if I'm the only one. Your audio kind of changed a little bit.
Oh, really? Is it better?
No, it was as if something went off or so. Yeah, I don't know.
How is it now?
It's still sketchy. Like something changed, you know, with your audio.
Okay.
You were a device before, and then all of a sudden it's gone. I don't know. Yeah, someone's also saying in the chat that your audio is.
Audio is bad. How is it now, though? Let me. I haven't done anything different.
Okay.
So let me mute myself and then unmute and see if we
okay, let's try. Someone is suggesting disconnecting and reconnecting your audio. Okay. So someone is suggesting that a voice application on your device interfered with your audio. It sounds like it. There was definitely some interference.
How is it now?
Yes, we're back. That's it. Yes.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Great. Apologies for that. All right, let's walk through this 9-step process. Again, if you ever notice that the audio goes out again, let me know very quickly so I don't keep talking, all right? Great. So the first is to know the specific role and opportunity. Like I said, I don't know if you heard that, but these are steps that people have used over and over again that have worked, right? And so know the specific role and opportunity that you're looking for, right? So you want to be a data analyst, for instance, in IT space, or you want to be an healthcare professional, and you know the exact role that you're looking for, or you want to be a construction manager, whatever it is, a project manager, know exactly what that role is. Write it down. Write down the job description of exactly what you want to be doing. The next is to find 10 to 15 organizations. Find 10 to 15. There are hundreds of organizations that have the role, but just narrow it down to 10 to 15 of the ones that you think you want to work with, you like the culture, you like what they do, so identify that. Now, within those 10 to 15 organizations, identify 3 to 5 influencers. By influencers, I'm talking about people who can make decisions. So like a director, an executive vice president, something like that. And someone is asking me, how do I find that? LinkedIn is your source. LinkedIn is going to help you. You can type in, vice presidents at Google, for instance, and you're going to see a list of people. You're going to be able to see people who are, maybe your first level connection, second level connection, third level connection. You can see that. And if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, I think you should, but if you don't have one right now, of course, you can reach out to me and I can help you, build up a LinkedIn profile and tell a great story on your LinkedIn. I mean,
Can you expatiate more on the difference between LinkedIn and other social media platforms? Because I feel like some people don't understand that LinkedIn is not Facebook.
All right.
All the things that you see on LinkedIn, you're like, okay.
Yeah. So LinkedIn.
Put in a picture of yourself with a headgear on LinkedIn. I've seen that before, and it does not. That's not where it belongs. So please educate our audience on that.
Yes. So LinkedIn is where you market yourself professionally, right? So whatever it is that you want to be known for professionally, LinkedIn is where to do that. LinkedIn is not the place to post your beach vacation photos, right? Or your trip to Paris or something like that. It's where you go. And these days, I see a lot of people do a lot of things on LinkedIn, and it's really hurting their brand. So you don't want to be the person who does that. LinkedIn is a place to build your professional, to tell your professional story, if you will, all right? And so you talk about your job experiences, you talk about fun projects that you're working on, professional projects, you reach out to people, you join networks, you start to increase your visibility, right? So it's a social network, of course, it's a social network, but it's a professional social network, right? So if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, or you have one and you're not really sure how to use it or leverage it, you can definitely reach out to me and I can guide you on that. But reach out on LinkedIn, find the influencers in the organization that you want to apply to. And then the next thing is to reach out to them. You can, of course, send a direct message to them on LinkedIn. A lot of people might not read your email or your notes from LinkedIn because they don't know you, especially if they're not your first connection. The other way to do this is to get their email addresses. And mailscoop.io is a tool that I personally use that works. You just go to that website, right? Type in the name of that individual and the company, and 9 out of 10 times it's going to give you back their corporate email address. I've tried this many times and it worked. I even tried it for myself, right? And it gave me my work email address. I was shocked. So you can get people's email addresses from there and then reach out to them. Right, reach out to them. Someone is saying, "Oh, why should I reach out to someone that doesn't know me?" Take the chance. You just have to take the chance. The worst that can happen is they don't reply to you, or they reply and say, "Sorry, I don't have any opportunities for you." But reach out to them. Right, research the company, research that person, know what their career trajectory has been like, so that your notes is a little more personal. Right, so research the company, research the individuals. Now you have 3 to 5 individuals across 15 organizations. So you have give or take about 30 people that you're going to be sending emails to, right? Again, I can help you with an email template. If you're interested in that, you can reach out to me, but reach out, do the research, and then send an email. It's a simple email saying, "Hey, I've been learning a lot about your company, and I like the fact that you've made such impact in this company within this short period of time. I'd like to set up some time with you to understand the work that you're doing and to also tell you about the value that I might be able to bring to your organization." And write a little bio about yourself. This is what I've done over the past year or 2 years or 5 years, whatever it is. Just write that. Make it very short. It doesn't have to be an essay, right? So that people actually read it. Make it very short and straight to the point and send it out. I can assure you that if you send out 30 emails, at least 3 people are going to respond to you with some positive response saying, of course, I'd like to chat. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to give you a job. No, it doesn't mean that you're automatically going to get a job. It just gives you audience with people that matter, which is worth more. It's 1,000 times better than sending in your resume and hoping that a recruiter picks that up. All right. So do that. And once you do that, prepare for your meeting, be very well prepared. Like I said, write your story, right? If someone asks you, what do you do? Who are you? Or why should I be having this conversation with you? Have that story written down where you can tell them exactly who you are, the values that you bring, the skills that you possess, and the things that you're currently doing in your career to make progress, right? And so you have to be able to tell that story. And then once you meet with them, make sure to follow up. I've seen this work many times, many times, because once you connect with these people who have influence, they're able to quickly think through problems that they're having in their organization for which you're able to provide solutions, right? But again, you really want to do this when you know the role and you know the solution that you're able to bring to the table, right? So these are things that you can do. Great. 8 tips on becoming a starting player. I can tell you this. I've been part of many teams. I've been just a regular team member. I've been a team leader, leading teams, upward of 30 people, right? And I can tell you that there are traits of being a starting player. There are traits of being a key member of every team. And these are some of those things. Number one is to be a great listener, right? Don't be that person who always wants to speak in a meeting. It pushes people off. You don't always have the right answers. You don't feel like you have to answer all the questions. You don't always have the right answers. You just need to accept that. And so be a great listener. Listen to what people are saying. Understand, repeat what they're saying to them. That way they know that you're listening. If I may understand you better, is this what you're saying? Just so I'm clear, I just want to repeat to you what you've said. It shows people that you're really, really listening to them, right? Once you start to do that, you become that person that you want to go to talk to, right? Communicate with confidence. You have to show confidence in the way you speak. You have to show confidence in the way you communicate. You don't want to talk too fast or talk too slow. Be confident in the way that you communicate your ideas, your thoughts, and whatever information it is that you want to get across. So be very confident. Be an example, right? Be an example of the values of your company, the values of your team. Be an example of a great employee. Be an example of a great team player. Whatever it is that you think a team player should be doing, be that person that bears the torch, right? Be the person who's that example. Hold people accountable. Hold people accountable. So if there's a team where everyone has been designated some type of work, be that person who's checking to say, hey, are you doing well? Do you need help? We're almost at the deadline. These are things that you can start to do to establish yourself as a star team player. Celebrate teammates. You don't always have to be the one who is the star, if you will. You don't have to be the one who is the champion of the team. Celebrate success when you see it. When someone does a good job, celebrate them. When someone does something, write a short email and say, hey, that was great. That was good. You did really well. I'm really proud of you. That presentation went well, right? You start to attract people to yourself by doing that, right? Use your gift and strength to help your team do better. Like I said, you might have a skill in public speaking. You might have a skill in, creating Excel spreadsheets or even gathering data through research. Start to use those things in ways that help your teams do better, right? Be humble. Humility, like I said in one of my posts, is humility will open more doors than arrogance will, right? Be humble gives you the opportunity for people to really, really, really connect with you at a level that's beyond comprehension, right? So humility attracts people to you. So be humble. Be humble. Of course, you know your stuff, you know worth, you know the value that you bring. Again, I keep talking about this value because value is everything. So you know the value, but be humble about that. Be willing to help other people, be teachable, be coachable. Sometimes you're going to be wrong, right? Be humble enough to accept that you're wrong or you don't know things and be willing to learn. And the last thing is to be receptive to feedback. You know, we all like to think that we're doing a great job. We all like to think that we're rock stars, right? But people might not think the same, right? People might have constructive feedback for us and things that we can do better in our lives, right? So be receptive to that. When people tell you, these are the things I think that, you know, you can do better, don't be immediately defensive. Of course, the people who just want to give you feedback for the sake of bringing you down, right? You need to be able to decipher between what's constructive feedback as opposed to, you know, very negative feedback coming out of a place of hate. But be receptive to feedback and make changes. Continuously review yourself, review your progress, right? So those are steps to be a star team player. Do we have any questions coming in?
No, we don't have any posted yet, but I guess when we open up, we'll see if people have questions.
Awesome. All right. So I see one question. How can internships help in skill development? I'll answer that in a second. Increasing your earning potential. Someone is on this call and is asking, how do I increase my income, right? How do I increase my earning potential? There's 3 ways to do that. And I've tagged them: look inside, look outside, or look sideways. Those are the 3 main ways. Man, there might be other ways, but these are the 3 main ways. Looking inside, meaning having a conversation with your boss and saying, hey, I think I deserve a raise. Again, you don't want to do that if you don't have a great story to tell. You need to be able to put together a story of the value that you bring, the incremental skill that you developed, right, since joining that role or joining that company or being in that role, rather. You need to be able to tell that story. Say, hey, I've developed the skills. These are the things that I've done, and I think that I need these rates. Do your research, know exactly what you're gunning for, know what your market value is, right? LinkedIn can also help you do that. LinkedIn can help you determine what your market value is, the years of experience, the role that you're in, the responsibilities that you have, the industry that you're working in, and all that stuff. So do your research, know your market value before having that conversation, and then approach them again with openness. Be very open. It wouldn't always go well, right? Or it might go well. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get that raise. So be open-minded, have that conversation, and don't go in as though you're trying to argue. Just it's a normal conversation to say, hey, this is the work that I'm doing. I feel like I need to get paid more. I'd like to see what the options are. You know, it might not be a raise in your base pay. It might be maybe you get more PTO time. It might be that you get more in benefits, whatever it is, be very flexible, all right? The next thing is to connect with opportunities internally. There might be opportunities elsewhere that you can move into that pays more than what you are currently earning, right? So look for those opportunities, build your network. We talked about visibility and building professional relationships. Reach out to your network and say, you know, I've been working in this department. I think I want to do something else. I think I'm underpaid or maybe undervalued, whatever. Have that honest conversation. The next thing is to look outside. Find opportunities. We've talked about finding your dream job and how to get a chance or get a shot into getting that opportunity that you're looking for, right? And the last way is, of course, to look sideways, right? You can maintain your current position with your current employer and also have something on the side. You can have a side business. You can have some investment in the financial markets. I think we're going to talk a little bit about that in the upcoming sessions. Invest in stocks or bonds or retirement accounts, properties, whatever it is. You can invest in a business that's just starting out and be a co-owner in a business, right? So there's several avenues. This call is not to go into the details for that, but there's several avenues where you can invest, all right? Great. I believe the last one here is navigating office politics. Everyone faces this. I've faced this in my career, right? As a matter of fact, I was in a role one time a couple of years ago where I thought I was doing everything right. But every time I spoke on a call, people just didn't want to listen to me. And this wasn't because of my accent or anything. It was just because I wasn't on the winning team. I wasn't on the winning side. And I realized that very quickly, and I was able to make quick changes in my next role, right? And so the first thing you want to do is to be on the winning side. What does that mean? Identify the people that matter and build the right relationships with them. Identify the people that matter and build. Again, this is very different than sucking up to people. No, it's showing them the value. This is where value comes in, showing them the value that you bring. Let them see you for the value that you bring, as opposed to just being popular, right? You have to be someone that creates value, right? And so be on the winning team. And you know within your organization what the winning team is. You know what the winning team is. You know the people who have influence. You know the type of work that has the right level of visibility, which brings us to the next point. Have the right visibility. We talked about visibility a lot, right? So have the right visibility, be professional. Be professional. Don't lose your cool or don't lose your person. Don't start to engage in inappropriate things due to office politics, right? So be professional. Again, bring yourself, be real, be authentic, but be professional. Be very professional. And then the last thing is know when to disengage. And disengaging doesn't necessarily mean to leave that job, but know when not to sell your soul, right? A lot of people, someone asked a question earlier, how do you differentiate between being a problem solver and being someone who just wants to do eye service? Be very, conscious of when to disengage from activities that are not productive or helping your career in any way, right? So you don't want to just keeping up with the Joneses, like they say, when it's really hurting your career. So know exactly when to disengage. It might be, joining a different project or moving to a different role, or even maybe looking for a different job, or having a conversation with your superiors to say, I don't think I'm very comfortable with this environment or what's going on, in a respectful way. No blame games, don't point fingers. Just say, I think I'd like to maybe try to take on a different responsibility, or maybe try out a different role, or start something new. Ask them if there are other opportunities that you can try out, right? And so that, I believe, is maybe the last slide there. So closing thoughts before we take any questions. We've talked about a lot of things here. As with many things, if you don't practice, you're never going to be perfect. So everything that we've talked about here is not just for informational purposes. These are things that I want you to go back and start to implement, starting today, actually. Start to implement those things. If it's going ahead and writing a paragraph to tell your story, right? Create a PowerPoint slide to really detail out in a very succinct manner exactly what value you bring to the table. If it's going out and cleaning out your LinkedIn profile, right? If it's identifying the people that you need to connect with to tell them exactly what value you bring to the table, right? So make sure that today, take a step that incrementally moves you closer to that next level that you're looking for. So these are really my thoughts. There are many channels where you can get a lot of this information, but if you load yourself with information and you don't act on it, is as useless as not even knowing it at all. So make sure that you're acting on these things. I'm very glad that you've decided to join this session today. I hope that this was helpful. If you do have any questions outside of this meeting, you want to reach out, you can reach out to the host and give him my information to reach out to me personally. But I'm again very glad, and I want to say thank you for being a part of this session.
Wow. Thank you so much, Dio. So for my closing thought, I wanted to share a brief story with you guys, because I want you guys to know that all of the things that Dio has shared are the things that you can actualize, right? There's nothing that we have mentioned here today that is out of scope. These are things that are doable. So I had been at my the company that I work for. Actually, this August makes it 4 years. And in 4 years, I have scaled through, position after position after position, on my third role now. And thankfully, I've, scaled up. So I think the last 7 months, 6-7 months before, I just had a recent promotion and moved to a different role just last month. And the 6 months or 7 months before that, actually since November the previous year, management changed and things just, what was a very cohesive, amazing, great team, all of a sudden became very, very toxic. Because we had a change in management, and everybody, because we're so close as a team, and some people didn't like that idea, which that's something that some people want, and so they scattered everybody. You go here, you go here, you go there, and things were just very, very toxic for all of us. Especially for me, I was very unhappy. My work day normally would start at 6:30 in the morning, and at 6:30 I'm already hyper, but by 8 o'clock, even though I've had by 8-9 a.m. in the morning, I've had 3 meetings every single day, and I just wasn't feeling it anymore. So I was like, I have to get out of here. But I liked the company as a whole. I liked the flexibility that the company offered, right? So I didn't necessarily want to move outside of the company to another company. So, but if that's what I needed to do, then that's what I needed to do. But I was like, let me look within. Like Daya said, look inside first. So I just mentioned, I was having a meeting with someone that I worked on a project on. And, we worked on a project together, and she was always been nice to me. And she was like, oh, I want to tell you something, that I'm moving on to another position, to another team, just out of the blues. And that right there was her way of also networking, right? And just letting people know and staying afloat. So she reached out to people that she felt she had worked with and needed to know, where she was going, and, the change as well. So that was one thing I want you guys to know. So she mentioned it to me, and she was a great person to work with on the project that we worked on. So I kind of noted that down, and we talked about the issues she was having on the position that she was in and why she was moving on to another position. And guess how she got that position? It was from an internal referral, somebody else that she had worked with on the project. She had just mentioned off the blues that, I'm looking to move to another team. If you know of any openings within the company, because there's some positions that are not usually posted with, internally on your company's intranet. And you have to know the people that are hiring for you to know what's going on, or that a position is coming. So she got a call from that person, or an email from that person saying, hey, I remember you said you were looking for something. Well, here's a new position that's coming. So she moved on to that. So when she was telling me, I was like, wow, that's very nice. And I said, I'm actually also looking to move to another team. If you hear of anything, let me know. That's what I told her. And 3 weeks later, truth be told, she reached out to me. She was like, oh, I think I might have something for you. And then she had mentioned that another person, so this is just to show you guys how organizations work and how you keep in touch and how networking works. Another person that she had worked on a project with, that she was just having the tete-a-tete, how are you and all of that, had mentioned how she was expanding her team and was going to need, a manager to do certain things. And, she was about to put the work rec out there. Once HR approves it and everything, she was like, oh, I think I have the perfect person. I was the perfect person that she was talking to. And she mentioned my name to this person. And this person says, oh, I know her. No one can pronounce my name in corporate America. They call me Seun, Shun. As long as it starts with an S, she mentioned, she was like, I never know how to pronounce her name, but I know that name. She was like, I know her, I know that name. She was like, I worked with her 4 years ago. At the time we spoke, it was 3.5 years ago. She was like, I worked with her about 3.5 years ago. So she remembered my value and the work ethic and what I brought to the table 3.5 years ago. I haven't worked with her on any project in 3.5 years, but she remembered from back then. And she said, I remember her. And yes, now that you mention her, I think she would be excellent for this position. Ladies and gentlemen, she reached out to me on a Friday. We had a conversation. By Wednesday, I had a job. It was this quick. It was, and when HR called me, they were like, we're just doing the regular protocol. But it's the person, whoever, the lady who's going to be a new manager, she already said, this is who I want. Don't bother interviewing. Don't even post this job out there. Let's not even bother to start what we cannot finish. I want her, make it happen. So they were just calling to say, are you okay? She wants you. Do you want her? You guys are good. So Friday, Wednesday, it was the quickest, and the HR person said, this is the fastest transition I've ever seen. So it just tells you. So these are things that Dayo has mentioned as well. So you also, that's why I'm very insistent on, you have to make sure that no matter how little the job is, no matter how small or how little the job is paying, no matter how small the organization is, no matter how inconsequential you think your role is, always make sure that you're delivering value in whatever that you're doing. Always make sure that the people that you work with on different projects, because I assure you, in corporate America, especially if you want to grow within the same company, you will come around to each other again. There's going to be that shift where people that you've worked with in the past will come around at some point in time, and you want them to be able to speak for you and speak to the value that you bring. So I just wanted to jump, to throw that out in there, that these are practical things that we've put in place, and I'm a perfect example on the fact that this actually works. So at this point in time, it really is left to you guys to, implement the things that Dayo has, taught us here today. So we're going to open up, I'm going to unmute, and we're going to open up to questions, but we want to make sure we do this in an organized form as well, so that we don't have too many people speaking at the same time. So actually, let's do this. If you have a question, just raise your hand.
There are two questions that have come through that we might be able to answer real quick.
Okay, go ahead. And while Dayo answers that, if you have a question, please raise your hand, and then I'll unmute you so that you can speak. Dayo, go ahead.
So the first question someone is asking is, how do you deal with a situation when one of your colleagues is going directly to your manager to tell them status of your own work? How do you deal with that? I think we talked a little bit about this earlier, is you want to be, I think the first thing is establish trust, right? It's all about the relationships. Establish trust with your manager and keep them abreast every time that you talk to them. Keep them abreast of exactly what you're doing, right? Don't wait for them to come ask you, right? I have been on teams where I manage people, I've had people manage me, and I can tell you this, that no manager wants to have to think through what status. They want to know what's going on. So be that person that reaches out to them every time you talk to them, even if you don't have a lot of updates. Just keep them, abreast of what's going on. I'm still working on that stuff. I'll send you an email once it's ready. This is the status. These are the blockers that I'm facing.
Your audio is doing that thing again.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it did happen again, like literally 10 seconds ago. Something changed.
Okay. Is it better now?
No, still doing the same.
Let me just mute that.
Okay.
Is it better now?
Nope, same thing. What did you do before to fix it? What was that whatever you did before when it happened the first time? And guys, if you have questions, please raise your hand and I will unmute you so that you can ask your question directly.
Is it better?
Yes, we're back.
Awesome. Great. So I think I already answered that question, so I'm not going to really drag it. And so it's building the right relationships and make sure that you're top of mind. People are always going to do that. There are going to be people who want to take the glory for the work that you're doing. But again, keep creating value, keep building the right relationship, build your visibility. We cannot overstress that point. Build your visibility, and you'll be able to turn that around quickly. Someone asked, what is the benefit of an internship in skill development? It's key, right? So and not only internship is not only for like college students, right? Even in switching careers, you can take on an internship role, right? It might not be as easy as coming from college or whatever, but internships are very good. It also helps you really think through if that's what you want to do, right? It helps you think it's a short-term 3-6 months engagement where you work with the company and it's a time where you're asking questions, you're using the time to build your network and asking people around your organizations to really understand what they do. It helps you build some really core skills in that industry. And then you could also try to figure out if that's what you want to do long-term. All right, so if you have any questions, please unmute yourself, or any comments or whatever it is, unmute yourself and let's get them.
I think Ms. Mudupe Adebowale has a hand, so let me ask her to unmute herself if she has a question.
No, that was when we asked us to raise up our hands if we're okay with you. Yeah.
No problem.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. So let's see, Rachel, your hand is up. Do you have a question? Rachel, your hand is up. If you have a question, unmute yourself. I'm trying to unmute you here. Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Any other questions, concerns? Okay.
All right. Looks like we have a question from YouTube, it looks like.
Yes, we
from
do.
the chat, actually. Okay.
We do. So it says, how do you deal with people or team members who go to your superior to share your progress results before you do?
Well, yeah, that's the one we just answered. But there's one that says, is it better to negotiate? How best should we negotiate salary for a new role? Is it better to negotiate based on years of experience or the value and the skills you intend to bring to the organization? We talked about this a little bit earlier. I think it's a combination of all that. So know exactly what your market value is, right? Some jobs will pay you initially way more than your market value. Some will pay you around that, some will pay you a little lower. But doing that research up front, even before you start to apply, know what your market value is, know what you're comfortable with, have your tolerance level, right? I'm able to go maybe 10% below this, I'm comfortable. And so that research, I think, is going to be very important. But again, that number already factors in your years of experience, your skills, the industry that you're in, you know, what other people in the same role are making. So just do that. LinkedIn can help you do that. Glassdoor is another place that you can go to get what your market value is based on, again, years of experience, skills, and all that. So knowing that number and then defining what your tolerance is, right? Of course, if someone is willing to pay you more than your market value, I think that's a great it's a good deal. You can still negotiate. Someone has told me before to always negotiate, always negotiate. You know, I recently, I think I changed jobs. It's a little over 2 years ago. The offer was great, so I didn't feel the need to negotiate because I thought it was great. But my mentor told me always negotiate. It shows it shows confidence. It shows confidence. It shows that you know your worth, and you know you're not afraid to have that conversation. But again, the research about your market value is going to be very important before you have that negotiation.
Absolutely. Thank you. I think that's the questions that we have on YouTube. Let's see. Any other questions here? All right. I don't think that we have any other questions here. Yeah, I don't think we have any other questions. And then no other hands been raised. So I want to take it that everyone is good. No one else has any other questions. If that's the case, I think that's the end of it. Dayo, is that, are we good?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Just joining the class, but you know, we're just, and if you're just joining the class, we're about to sign off. So guys, I want to say thank you all for taking the time to join. We had about 50 people who registered for the class, but I think just about half of them eventually joined. So that's awesome. And we have some people watching on YouTube as well. That's great. Like I said, this is a series. So we have more. I'm going to be bringing Dayo back again. He's going to be hosting the class for, you know, the stock market. And guess what? We are going to do, it's going to be an interactive one. Everyone is going to open an account. Well, that's if you want to. We're going to walk you through the step-by-step process of opening an account with the trading company, right? You know, investing in your first stock, even if it's whatever it is, we'll find something that says, you know, good, reasonable. I will even put money down for us to use as an example, and you know that we can buy a stock. And Dayo would give us great advice because you have to maximize all of the ways that you can increase your income potential. So not just from your 9-to-5er, but from different ways as well. We'll have people from real estate. We'll have different classes happening this month of August. So stay tuned. If you're here and you did not register, please go to tinyurl.com/Seun on demand and register. Also, you know, follow me on Instagram, Seun on demand. Also follow Dayo. Dayo is at Next level mentality. He also has classes that he posts every now and then. So, and his classes, as you can see, very valuable. He comes with a wealth of knowledge. So I want you guys to be able to have access to him. So next level mentality on Instagram, and also Seun on demand on Instagram. We want to say thank you to all for joining, and we apologize again for the technical issues that we had. You never can predict with the internet. So thank you guys for joining. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you at the next class. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Dario.